the DDMC Northern Saloon and Sports Car Championship at Knockhill Racing Circuit, and a bumper entry of 28 cars come with their travelling circus from the Croft area, which is brilliant to see. A few locals, a good few fast locals that we have all dropped in here as well. And let's see how they get on. Qualifying went the way of Paul Bryden and Colin Simpson, the local duo, very fast on the front row of the grid, with Andrew Morrison, another local hero, and Dave Bruce in his Lotus Elise on the second row of the grid. Bruce's Elise, well, that's the one that Bryden was talking about to us off air pre-qualifying. He says Dave's incredibly fast, and he always seems to have a few issues with him as they go on. Issues in a good way, because Dave Bruce is a fast man. So let's get this race underway. We shall just get the last of the cars lined up on the grid. Decent weather conditions here at Knockhill Racing Circuit for them. A little bit of cloud cover, but it's still very, very warm. Maybe not the best for the tyres, but let's see how they get on. We've got the Kell family here as well. Calamity Racing. Stephen Kell and son Dan Kell, the red Sierras mid of our screen just now. And yeah, Dan is now faster than Dad. We can say that. It might not go down too well, but it's just the way it is, Stephen. You're going to have to get used to that. A little bit of wheeling. Colin Simpson back from P2 on the grid. Maybe just overshot the grid box by a tiny bit. But let's get going for this one as the cars will make their way onto the line. Scott Hubel and Mark Laybourne on the third row of the grid. That Peugeot 205 T16. Yes, please. Like that a lot. Certainly do. Jonathan Swift and Kevin Smiles, Honda Civic, a pair of Honda Civics alongside each other. Then Alan McPherson and Drew Myers. Here we go though, we're under starters orders at Knockhill. We wait for the lights to go out. It's a quick turnaround and down towards Duffy's Dip go the DDMC cars as they all tear down underneath that Beatson's Building Supply Bridge. And as they get down there, who is it going to be? It's Paul Bryden and Dave Bruce into second place. So Bryden's biggest fear is Bruce has got himself up into second place already. Morrison with a little bit of a, well, I'm not going to say sluggish start. The start from Andrew Morrison, probably just not getting the same grip off the front as the other guys. And into the gravel goes car number 10, Alan Gibson. And he was helped there by 1-2-1. That will be Chris Pearson. So the MX-5 and the Lotus Exige into the gravel trap at turn 3 McIntyre's. Greatest way to start the race. We're on board with car number 33 going through Clark Corner as a few other people deciding that the gravel is a better place to get traction and the grass, but yeah, definitely not as they head round towards the hairpin for the first time of asking. Everybody getting tucked in, down the gears they go, and those cars have thankfully got back onto the circuit. Simon Baker was our onboard cameraman there, and Simon has been racing with the Northern Saloon Sports Car Championship since, well, as far as I can remember, a long time competitor, an all-round good guy. As Morrison has a look at Laybourne going through McIntyre's, but it's not to be. Try as he may, he's tried to put that car in the gap, which was ever diminishing. And Andrew Morrison, being the clean racer it is, decided that he didn't want to do anything untoward to the front of that TCR car. Oh, big front end damage on one of the Honda Civics. Was that car number 39 there? I'm going to say Simon Sheridan. As we go on board through the chicane with Baker looking at the back of Sheridan, up the back straight. Baker in his Ford Fiesta XR2, the 1600cc Class D runner. Look at that steering wheel. That's a classic XR2 steering wheel. I remember when I first started racing, that's what the cars had. Simon Baker still sporting that, not going for the sporty suede version that they can have, or any other steering wheel that you want to choose from. But away at the front, it's Bryden, Bruce and Simpson in a gap back to Morrison. Big gap back to Andrew Morrison. And after Andrew Morrison comes Mark Laybourne in the Westfield FW. And Mark Laybourne, another man who we've seen for many a year, car 77. And then the rest of the pack all streaming through. So we go on board with car number 89. And car number 89, that has to be one of the Kells. It's Dan Kell, it's Junior, and Junior Kell is very fast. He goes through the chicane now. Stephen Kell, a former race winner in the series, the dad. Stephen got his first ever race victory at Knockhill in some treacherous weather conditions in the Big Sierra. He had no idea he'd won the race until he got back to Park Ferme. And then all hell broke loose, shall we say. Never had a man scream and cry so much on Knockhill FM as Stephen did. And it lives in living memory of everybody who was at Knockhill that day. And somewhere in the world that still exists on tape. it would be a cassette, mind you, but it still does exist. Baker in towards the hairpin, onto the brakes, down the gears he goes. Nice wide turn in, just ahead of him. That looks like one of the Kell cars, if I'm not mistaken. Up the main straight we go, and he's trying to get a little bit of an overlap now as they go up over the crest of the hill. That damaged Honda Civic just in front of him. Really will be struggling quite a bit with that front end being semi-removed as they go in towards Duffus Dip, although it might be giving an aero advantage. Who knows? What will the scrutineers be saying about that as well? Because I'm pretty sure they'll be on the pit wall having a close eye, because if that bumper is about to come off, it will be a slight worry, that's for sure. A couple of nice BMWs, that's Paul Lightburn and Stuart Middleton going through our shot there. And Paul Bryden already in towards lapping cars now. Such is the pace of Paul in his Solutions F car. It's a space frame car, Scandinavian touring car. It's got a V6 Nissan engine in the back of it, and as we can see, it's incredibly fast. Now Bruce has slipped behind Colin Simpson. The Marcus Mantis from 9 Miles Garage, Colin Simpson in Dundee, has managed to sneak ahead of the Lotus Elise of Dave Bruce. So Bruce just starting to lose a little bit of ground in this race. Over the crest of the hill for Baker. Let's listen to this. Great sound from that little XR2 with the CVH engine inside that, if I'm not mistaken, underneath the bonnet. 1600 CVH Ford engine. A taxi chicane. Oh, brilliant stuff. Through he goes. And then up the back straight towards Clark Corner, but you're going to have to keep your eyes on the mirrors because the leaders are not far away. There's Simpson. Bryden's already cutting through that pack, showing no mercy as Paul Bryden. And that's one thing about this race series. You're racing in your own class, but you also have to have a careful eye on the mirror for the bigger, faster classes coming through, and they will be coming through, that's for sure. As we see them all streaming past the pit lane just now. Next session lined up in the holding area. There goes Bryden, and he's already passing more cars away. Blue flag means that the leader is passing you. Don't jump off the racing line. Stay on the line. The faster man will always find a way past you. As they come through McIntyre's, Bryden hits a nice, good, clean apex, and through he goes. A good few MX-5s in with this series now as well, we should mention that. So we've got a whole group of them together. Stephen Craggs, James McCann, Chris Pearson and Stephen Reid all together out there. And Stephen Kell, I can tell you, car 87 Stephen Kell is in trouble. The Sierra Cosworth not performing the way it should do. You can see that his lap time's considerably slower than where he should be. And unfortunately for Stephen, dropping back now. Baker heads towards the hairpin. Some great onboard shots here. And he comes, picks a braking point, down 1, 2, into the hairpin he goes, through the apex. Quick check of the mirrors as he comes out the corner, as a professional would do. He's done this for a long time, he knows what to expect, and there he goes. There goes the faster cars, two of them as well. Bruce being the much faster car streaking past. But that shows you Simon Baker stays on his line. The faster cars will always find a way past you, and great onboard footage and great sounds as well, which we get from the onboard footage, which we do like to see. Andrew Morrison goes up the inside of one of the BMWs in towards Duffus Dip. I think that could have been, well, it was Middleton or Lightburn, that's for sure. It was one of them. And Andrew Morrison, that TCR car, Andrew, it's a great vehicle, very, very beautiful. Have a look at it if you're ever in the paddock. The Seat Cooper. I don't know where Citroen come from, Andrew, I'm completely sorry. The TCR Seat Cooper, I'm making myself laugh now. Must be the heat inside this commentary box as everybody else streams through the chicane and climbs the back straight towards Clark Corner. The crowd in the background loving being back at Knockhill Racing Circuit and loving seeing all the action on track, and there's enough of it on track when you get 28 of the DDMC cars coming to race at Knockhill. It's nothing but action all the way around as they make their way up the main straight. Retiring, is that our camera car? Please no, that's not Simon Baker heading towards the pit lane. I think that could possibly be Simon heading towards pit lane with an issue. What a disaster for him. The Northern Saloon and Sports Car Championship veteran heads to the pit lane, and we have another onboard camera, and he's looking in the mirror at a car coming up behind him, or just checking for the braking point. That's Dan Kell. said, son of Stephen. Let's ride on board and listen to the sounds of Dan's big Sierra. We also got a little bit of Colin Simpson going past the Knockhill media team on the pit wall there, doing a bit of filming. Colin Simpson in the Marcus Mantis blasts past young Dan Kell. Sierra Cosworth for Dan, runs in Class B. Best lap of the race for Dan so far is a 59.9, which is an impressive lap time for the young man. If you follow Calamity Racing on Facebook, if you don't, you should. You really should. Dan, a lot of karting for him, and making the step up to the big circuits. And Stephen giving him all the love and support all the way. And Stephen Kell, well, yeah, he's great fun to keep an eye on. Always keep an eye on Stephen Kell. 39 is Simon Sheridan, and that front bumper is starting to look looser and looser. We do hope that doesn't come off for, and it's done a good bit of front end damage to the bonnet as well. So let's hope the radiator's not got any mishaps. We're hearing from Simon Baker that he's got a water leak in pit lane. What a disaster for him. Out of the race, a water leak. So hopefully he managed to get that before the car started to overheat and do any damage to the engine. Oh, sideways in towards McIntyre's. Very easy to do that as Simpson comes through, and that's what you don't want to see when you're one of the leaders starting to go through the traffic. Ultimately, the guys you're starting to catch and pass, they are still in a race, but as you're coming upon them, you don't want anything untoward to happen, and it can happen, and it has happened many a time. I remember Paul Bryden, unfortunately last year or the year before, being caught out at this very corner of the chicane when he caught a global light, a slow global light braked, where Paul didn't expect the car to brake, and you wouldn't normally brake. Paul tagged that global light, sent him off, got himself a bit of a problem with that as well, causing some damages. The Kell car, Dan Kell, sorry, we call him Stephen, Dan Kell slithers up the inside of the hairpin. Good manoeuvre that, nice manoeuvre. And there's Dad, the ailing Sierra Cosworth of Dad. Now just watch the speed difference here. Stephen's car misfiring and spluttering. Will there be a wave from Dan here? Will we see anything? No, doesn't care, completely ignores Dad, as you would, like that. And towards Duffy's Dip, you could almost see the smile underneath that helmet though. As we have a look at the fastest lap of the race so far, because there's a lot of classes out here, but the fastest overall lap of the race goes to Paul Bryden still. He's owned it from the beginning in a 52.0, but that happens very early in the race because you start to catch lap traffic. So his fastest lap was done on lap 3 of this race. Most of the top guys, most of the front runners doing it within the first 4 or 5 laps, because then you start to catch traffic. 52 flat is the fastest lap for Bryden. Colin Simpson in second place in the A1 class Marcus Mantis, the 5 litre Marcus Mantis, we do like that. He's done a 52.9, so two completely different cars when you think about it. The Marcus with the big engine in front, Paul Bryden's car with the V6 engine in the back. It's still a V6 3.5 litre Nissan engine, so it's it's still fairly sizable. Dave Brewis, he's got 2.4 Lotus Elise, the engine obviously in the back of that as well. They're not very much in the front of that car, apart from Dave Brewis, to tell you the truth, as he goes through and up the back straight towards Clark's car, bouncing through the chicane as well there. One of the beautiful Honda Civics. That was Kevin Smiles, number 60, and then an army of MX-5s come through. So I think credit to Leslie and Mick Starkey. They put on a fabulous race series for the Northern Saloons and Sports Car Championship, run by Darlington and District Motor Club. Their home track, really Croft, but we're lucky enough we get them up here. Sometimes it's twice a year at Knockhill, sometimes it's only once a year, but every time they come up, it's great class racing. And also, when you bring 28 visitors, it really does give our spectators something new to enjoy and watch. But we're getting towards the business end of this race for Paul Bryden. He has just got to pick his moments through the traffic, and as has Colin Simpson as he comes upon that damaged Simon Sheridan car. And Dave Brewis. Dave Brewis is starting to catch back up with Colin Simpson. Now, is that because Simpson's in heavy traffic, or has Dave Brewis got a second lease of life? Andrew Morrison still circulates in 4th place, and he is also in A1 class A1. The first 4 all in that class. Then Mark Laybourne, he leads class A2 in his Westfield FW. You'll be happy with that one, because he's ahead on the road of the Peugeot 205 T16, and that's a beautiful bit of kit. If you could have one car, I mean, that harks back to Group B rallying days, that, doesn't it? Through the chicane comes Bryden, cutting through the traffic, and then big long gap back to Colin Simpson. Will we stay on this camera to see Colin come through? It looks like we are. There goes Stephen Kell. It's just not worked for Stephen, unfortunately. There goes Simpson there. And there's Bruce. So Bruce very much keeping Colin Simpson honest. Colin can't not pay attention here. He can't switch off. Car 14 was Carl Hitchin in the Renault Clio. And Carl Hitchin's car, beautiful little Renault Clio that. Similar to what we have in Superlap Scotland. We seem to have all the other remaining Renault Clios in Britain racing in Superlap Scotland. Carl's the one that got away from the paddock, it would appear. I'm pretty sure some of the guys from SLS will be down having a good look at some of these Northern Saloons and sports cars, because they are pretty stunning pieces of kit. Leybourne under all sorts of pressure now in through McIntyre's. Scott Hubel in that Peugeot 205 T16. 57.009 for Scott, 57.281 for Mark are the lap times. So they're very, very similar. They're both in A2 class, and that's a race for A2 honours at this part of the race. Through goes one of the Kell cars, and it's Andrew Morrison about to put that car a lap down now. Let's have a little look further down. Kevin Smiles in his Honda Civic leads Class C just now. And the Honda Civic being a 2-litre engine car in Class C, and he's just ahead of Jonathan Swift in the other Honda Civic, the EK9 version. So a good race for Class C, and they're 6th and 7th overall respectively on the road. In fact, they're 7th and 8th respectively on the road. My eyesight failing me. Behind them, 9th place, we've got Dan Kell, and he leads Class B just now. So that will go down well in Calamity Racing as Simpson misses an apex here. Simpson's under pressure now because Bruce has come alive towards the end of the race as they go through the butcher's area. Look at that little Lotus Elise, very light, very nimble, very powerful, and Dave Bruce, a good driver who can position it and drive, not kill, so consistently fast. That has got to have Simpson a little bit worried towards the end of this race. As some moves further down up the inside, that once again is car 60's Kevin Smiles. And he needed to do that because Jonathan Swift very much on his case as they go through. Bouncing through the chicane there. Up the back straight. The BMW's involved in that as well. And Sheridan goes through again with that bumper. I can't believe that bumper has stayed on the whole entire race. The leader's about to put 4th place on the road overall. Andrew Morrison a lap down as we go back on board, climbing from chicane to Clark's Dan Kell. Another little peek in the mirror for Dan. Nice and wide, turns it in. Nice and relaxed behind the steering wheel, this young driver, isn't he? He doesn't look like he's really stressed or overly working the car. Nice, smooth, calm gear change, and that's what it's all about. It's about putting together consistent runs rather than hyperactive gear changes. Paul Lightburn leaves the hairpin in his BMW E36. And Andrew Morrison sees the leader coming, and Paul Bryden spins! No! Paul Bryden spins at the hairpin. What caused that? Morrison was well out the way. Bryden spins at the hairpin. Oh dear, he almost throws it all away because that could have been a disaster for Bryden. It was the run towards the checker flag. Paul Bryden has used one of his 9 cat lives to get away with that one. Spins it at the last corner. Manages to get off the grass and get going and still take the victory. Paul Spinning Bryden wins from Colin Simpson and Dave Bruce.
Paul, many congratulations, but a nervy finish to that race.
It was, aye. Put new tyres on the car for the race. Had old tyres on in qualifying, and weren't very good, but got a decent gap in the race. Stacked it back off, but in the last lap I didn't expect Andrew to move me on the inside, which when I didn't select first it didn't select, but when I went round the corner it did select first, so I locked the back up, spun on it in the grass. So I was panicking, thinking I was going to get stuck, but managed to get off and just go over the line in front of Colin.
And a very nervy run to the line as well, 2 cars hot on your heels.
That's it, aye.
Many congratulations, look forward to seeing you in race 2.
Okay, thanks.
Colin, congratulations, you almost won that race at the end.
No, not quite. But it was good. The car's going well now, so it was fine.
What was going through your mind in that last lap? You saw the car in front of you, I think there was a car in front as well, and just...
I was honestly thinking, the devil's that checker flag going out, because it was...
And how are you finding the track? First time back on track in a wee while? Car looking good?
About 3 years since I was here. To be honest, didn't really notice a lot of difference. But my car doesn't really like most tracks, so maybe that's what it is, you know. I didn't really notice a lot of difference, actually, you know.
Congratulations, great drive out there. Well done.
Thank you. Thanks.
David, congratulations, great drive out there. Just talk us through that race from your perspective.
It was a good race from start to finish. I got a good start and got away from Colin, but he's got too much power and he got passes on the straight. But I was catching him by the end, so it was, good fun. Good fun. I've only driven the car a couple of times, so.
Are you just maybe, was there a corner in particular you're maybe looking to try and make a move during the race?
I was trying to make a move at the very the hairpin or the corner before that, and he blocked us off, so I couldn't. His experience.
Well, great drive out there, very well done today.
Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Race number 2 for the Northern Saloons and Sports Car Championship, brought to you by the DDMC, Darlington and District Motor Club, at the SMRC at Knockhill. It all links together so seamlessly. Well, race number 1, Paul Bryden, last lap, last corner, spins and manages to win. Spin and win. Not something you want to be doing, Paul Bryden, but we heard in between races Paul hooked first gear while going round the hairpin. A very strange thing to do. He wasn't sure exactly what happened, but he managed to still win. So the 30-second board goes out, and we will get racing here in this race. A lot of non-starters. McPherson, Whitehouse, Kell, Linley, Baker and Gibson not starting race number 2 for us here today, unfortunately. But the lights start to climb on the gantry. You can see the heat haze at Knockhill. And away we go, lights out, and everybody heads down. Somebody's stalled on the grid. Is that Smiles? Difficult to see from such a far camera angle, but it looked like it was possibly a Honda. But Kevin, if it wasn't you, I do apologise. I take that one firmly back. The leaders go through McIntyre's already, and it's Bryden. Very much pushed by Bruce all the way there, but yeah, still in shock actually about what happened with Paul Bryden at the hairpin on race number 1. Through the goal, and where is Colin Simpson in this race? Where is Colin Simpson? Can't see Colin Simpson, and that's a bit of a worry. As we head towards the hairpin for the first time, out of the hairpin, up the main straight we go. It's Paul Bryden and Dave Bruce as they make their way over the crest off the hill and carry on for another lap with a little bit of a smoky Honda further down, and that's never a good sight. I do believe that wasn't Kevin Smiles who stalled on the line, so I do apologise, Kevin, once again. Malcolm McNabb goes through a camera shot there. SMRC committee member having a good watch of what's happening with the Darlington and District Motor Club. And there is Kevin Smiles there, so very much still in the race, and actually ahead of who he was fighting with in the first race. So he'll be happy with that one as we make our way down through the twisty part. Jonathan Swift is a car who we see smoking, and there's quite a considerable bit of smoke coming out of that car, and that is not too handy as they go up the back straights. Oh, a bit too much sausage curb there going through. There's Colin Simpson there in the mid pack. So Colin Simpson, a bit of a disaster on this one. He's got a lot of work to do as he comes through Clark Corner. He's cutting his way through the pack already. He should make his way right back up to the sharp end, but it's Bryden and Bruce. And Bruce will be hoping just to keep close enough to Bryden. You never know, Bryden spun in the first race. Can Bruce keep the pressure up on Paul Bryden, and he could maybe go off in this one. The beautiful Peugeot goes through, and a lot of apex curb and sausage curb for Mark Laybourne, car 77 there, as he chases down Scott Hubel in that number 12 Peugeot 205 T16 in period colours, and it's just one of the most beautiful things we've seen in a while. We wait for him to come through Clark Corner, and there he goes as he heads towards the hairpin in chase of the overall leader Paul Bryden, who makes his way through the hairpin in his Solution F BMW space framed Scandinavian touring car. And let's have a look, because really fastest laps of the race for these guys should be happening on this or the next lap, because then they will start to encounter some of the traffic that the field has got. Only 22 cars starting this race after Alan McPherson in the MK Indy RR couldn't make the start. Martin Whitehouse was another person who we lost, unfortunately, between both races in the BMW 135. Stephen Kell, who has had a bit of a disaster all weekend, unfortunately for him, So Stephen focusing on making sure that Dan's car was ready, his son's car was ready for the start of race number 2. And the Sierra Cosworth, Derek Linley in the low cost, not out either, didn't make the starts. Simon Baker, who gave us some onboard camera shots in race number 1, which was fabulous to see and hear. Simon Baker hasn't managed to make the restart. And Alan Gibson in the Lotus Exige, also not featured in car 10, who we saw in the gravel trap at the end, or the start, sorry, of race number 1. There goes Kevin Smiles through Clark's car number 60. And he's chased by a whole pack of cars, and around at the hairpin goes the Peugeot. The Peugeot spins out onto the grass and does a Bryden, although he's done it mid-race. And Scott will get away from there, back on track, and up he goes, but he's lost a good handful of positions there. And Mark Leybourne would have seen that happening right in front of him, and he will be quite happy with that, because he was having quite a battle in race number 1 with car 77, Mark Leybourne. Simon Main in there as well, in the AB Arion S2. Little bike engine car. Up the back straight he goes, putting Leybourne under quite a bit of pressure. And there comes, head down. Scott Hubel in that Peugeot will be, he'll have a whole bit of red mist down inside that car, one would imagine now. Simpson goes through. A couple of cars, then we've got Calamity Racing, Dan Kell. And beautiful, shall we say, almost harks back to a rallycross Renault Clio there. I'm going to put my neck on the line there and wait for the complaints to come my way. Eduardo D'Asuzo, one of the fastest names in Northern Saloons and Sports Car Championship, and a beautiful little car as well. The sun continues to beat down here as Simon Sheridan has managed to re-bolt that bumper back onto his car, as Dave Brewis now very much in the pack of traffic as well. Brian's already weaved his way through at the front, as we see an incoming Paul Bryden down the inside, and he was meaning business here. A little wobble mid-corner as he got on the power though for Paul Bryden, so the warning still very much there from that Solution F BMW Space Frame car. But if you jump on that loud pedal too quickly, Paul, it is going to loop you and you're going to be into the grass again on the inside. I have to hold my hands up, and I've done that myself. Leading a race, last corner, trying to wave to a few people in the crowd and put a Formula Ford in the mud on the inside there. Highly embarrassing. I couldn't drive away from it. Gifted a victory to Johnny Adams. That's haunted me for a long time. I don't know why I brought that back up, but Paul Bryden managed to get away from the grass there, and he will be very much not wanting to do that in race number 2. Car 101 goes through a shot. Stuart Middleton in the BMW E36 D28, a 2.8 litre engine in Class B for him, and he's ahead of Stephen Craggs, James McCann, Chris Pearson, Simon Reed, the armada of MX-5s. Well, he's in amongst them, that's for sure. Just listen to Paul Bryden's car there. That sounds stunning. It really is. He's still not offered me a shot of it yet, but I'm pretty sure that's coming quite quickly. Dan Kell in towards McIntyre's. And Dan Kell chases Simon Main in car 22 as they go through. Kevin Smiles in the Honda Civic just ahead. Beautiful paint job and sticker job on Kevin's car. And the sound of a Honda Civic is great when you hear it coming up the main straight. All that VTEC, all that RPM, all that induction noise. Great to hear the normally naturally aspirated 2 litre cars howling away. Through Clark Corner goes the leader, and Dave Lewis still very much keeping him honest. So 52.9, fastest lap of the race for Paul Bryden, and he done that on the 3rd lap of the race. Dave Brewis, he has done a 53.9, so a full second adrift, but really he is still very much in the hunt in that Lotus Elise. Up the main straight goes Brewis, and let's have a look at Colin Simpson. Fastest lap for Colin Simpson, 53.2, and Colin Simpson done that on lap 6, but you know, he was in traffic all the way, so that's a good lap for Simpson, and Smiles is all over the back of 22 Main. Main coming under increasing pressure from Smiles as Bryden is on the back of Dan Kell as they go through the chicane, and Brewis not far off the back of him either. Again, the fans still enjoying this great racing from the Northern Saloons and Sports Car Championship, brought to you by the Darlington and District Motor Club at the SMRC at Knockhill, SMRC's first meeting of the year for 2021. And Bryden now slithers his way past car 22 Simon Main in that Arion S2, the E2 class for Simon Main, and a bit of gravel getting kicked up there at the exit of the corner as well. Dan Kell up behind Kevin Smiles the Honda Civic, under pressure from the Sierra Cosworth, and Dan has a look, but then decides better off it because Bruce comes charging past both of them into towards Duffus. Now Bruce had to do that because he didn't want to have to follow them through that twisty part, but it was a big manoeuvre from Dave Bruce, carrying great speed in towards the corner and making sure that was all in there. That was all or nothing for Dave Bruce, and he manages to get past 2 cars in one at the top of Duffus Dip. Exeter Clark corner for Paul Bryden. Bryden looks like he's just getting the traffic in slightly better positions than Dave Bruce. And all the time we need to keep our eyes out for Colin Simpson. Where has he got to? Further back down just now. As again the V6 Nissan howls its way out from the hairpin up towards the crest of the hill, past that's the finish line there, and the start line is over the crest of the hill. As we have a little look further back down on the timing sheets just now, as Bryden goes up the inside of Chris Pearson and makes a nice manoeuvre there. Chris Pearson made that very easy for him. Went through Leslie's, kept on his racing line. Bryden right round the outside and up the inside, then in towards McIntyre's turn 3, which is how you want to do it. There comes the Bruce Elise through the chicane. We then get a whole armada of cars, and 109 in the middle of that we should mention. Was that 109? I don't think it was. It was maybe a different number. We'll pick that up next time through. Leslie Starkey will be on an email pretty quickly to me saying I got the number and the name wrong there, I would imagine. As Morrison now has Colin Simpson all over the back of him. So Colin Simpson with that comeback drive catches Andrew Morrison, and definitely not the Citroen as he was in last race, as I said, in the Seat Leon TCR car, 1900cc turbo car, as Sheridan goes through. Sheridan's bumper still attached. Then 14 also bouncing through, that's Carl Hitchin. And Mark Laybourne was the next car in the Westfield FW. Mark Laybourne, bike engine car if I'm not mistaken by the size of the engine in that. But we can confirm that later. Oh, Bruce a mistake through the chicane there for Dave Bruce. He got a whole hunk of second sausage curb and it bounced the car off, and the trajectory was all wrong. Now, has that affected the car? Because Dave Bruce, that just looks very strange as he come through there. So we'll have to keep our eye on that. We'll try and pick him back up in a later camera angle if we can. Kell still ahead of Smiles and still behind on the road as they head towards the hairpin. But look at this. Morrison, Simpson, that battle will rage on all the way towards... Well, Colin Simpson has the faster car, but I've got to say Andrew Morrison's TCR car is no slouch. Not a slouch at all. Paul Lightburn ahead of Mark Laybourne now. Lots and lots of different cars in this class. That is one good thing about multi-class racing. You get a mixture of absolutely everything, and it's down to how you want to build your cars and interpret the rules to how and where you fit in. You've got all the way from Marcus Mantis of Colin Simpson with a 5-litre engine down to Simon Main in the AB area on S2 with a 1-litre bike engine car. So it goes from full spectrum really. But everybody's out there, everybody's racing, and Simpson has got past Morrison. Colin Simpson in car 76 has managed to get past Andrew Morrison, and it's taken him a bit of a while actually. As they come through Clark Corner, looking at Edinburgh, basking in sunshine in the distance, but Morrison is by no means letting Colin Simpson off for this. That Seat Leon TCR car really excels through the twisty part. Then you can see the Marcus. Clearly the engine advantage opens up on the straight, but Colin Simpson then has to hold on to that car all the way down the tight twisty part, and that is not an easy thing to do. To hold on to that car and drive it to the best of its ability, yeah, it takes some doing, and the heat that must be involved in that big 5-litre engine coming back into the car for Colin Simpson. You've got to remember it's a space frame car for Colin, so it's only got lightweight panels in it, and the whole front end of that under that bonnet is all engine. It's a big one, it really is, and it takes a bit of manhandling. Big wide tyres as well, and Colin usually looks a little bit damp, shall we say, with sweat after each of his races. Car 57, another Honda Civic, Phil Jordan. Good paint job on that car for Phil, currently in 12th place, just now, or 13th place overall on the road. And Paul Bryden very much in the back of that, making a manoeuvre now. Paul Jordan Honda Civic 2-litre C-Class car goes through Clark's again. And he's got John Johnson in a Ginetta G20 just ahead of him. But into the hairpin comes your leader. And I wonder if he's just checking that gearbox every time he comes down, just making sure that nothing goes wrong, there's not a click in the wrong way. And it's going to have him facing the wrong way for the second time. Up through the heat haze here at Knockhill. Yes, I did say that. Through the heat haze here at Knockhill goes our race leader as Kevin Smiles comes through ahead of Colin Simpson. Colin Simpson pulling away now quite handsomely. James McCann was just ahead of Andrew Morrison. McCann in his MX-5, but yeah, Simpson's dropped Morrison, that's for sure. Chris Pearson goes through just ahead of Paul Bryden. And then we get Mark Laybourne coming through the chicane as well. It's a great camera angle. That really gives you a feel and a flavour of how blind the chicane, the Black Circle chicane, is at Knockhill Racing Circuit. If you didn't know the circuit and you're climbing up towards it, it actually looks like the track goes to the left, but you come over the hill and the track goes to the right. So it really is a fabulous, fabulous corner. And possibly one of the most photographed corners in UK motorsport for getting cars coming through there. We've all seen the iconic touring car shots as cars come through there on maybe one wheel, maybe no wheel, sometimes two wheels with huge air underneath the back of them. As we get towards the business end of this race for Paul Bryden, it's now just about making sure he can bring this home. A couple of minutes left in the race. Your second race of the weekend. And credit to the Northern Saloon and Sports Car Championship for making the trip up from the Croft area for all these drivers to come up with 28 of them. That's John Johnson, who we talked about there, car number 9 in the G20 Ginetta. He's in E1 class and he currently leads E1 class as well. So it's been a pretty successful trip north off the border for car number 9 John. And he'll be pretty happy to go home with a lovely couple of DDMC trophies, which Leslie Starkey will let the drivers grab from a table, and they will then head down in sunny conditions from Scotland back into Northern England, where they get to have more nice weather when they get home. But here comes your race leader, Paul Bryden. Car number 79 makes his way through. Eduardo De Souza then goes through, and then we wait a long time actually. We're going to have to wait. Where is Dave Bruce? I haven't seen Dave Bruce for quite some time. That's a little bit worrying. Number 99, the Lotus Elise. Here goes Kevin Smiles through. Kevin Smiles, just like his name, he will be smiling, that's for sure. Stephen Craggs was the white MX-5 that we saw going through, R47. A little bit worried about Dave Bruce just now, as he's on the timing screens, but the gap is getting very big between him and this man here, Paul Bryden. As Bryden comes out from the hairpin and up the main straight towards that Beatson's Building Supply Bridge. One more time, the checker flag is ready, and Bryden makes it a brace of victories here at Knockhill in the Northern Saloons and Sports Car Championship. And Bruce is in the pit lane. Dave Bruce has not finished the race. It's on the timing screen now. That will mean that Colin Simpson will be elevated to second place in the Marcus Mantis, number 76, and Andrew Morrison will get third overall on the road. But Bryden wins the race overall and A1 class. Drew Myerscough takes A2 class honours. E2 class honours go to Simon Main. B class is Stephen Kells. C class Kevin Smiles. Who takes D class honours? That's Simon Sheridan. So fabulous, fabulous Northern Saloon and Sports Car Championship racing at Knockhill again.
Paul, great drive out there. Was that just a case of tyre? Sorry, I'll do that again. 3, 2, 1. Paul, great drive out there. Was that just a case of traffic management, picking your way through and taking your moments there and keeping the car out of trouble?
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't much pressure. I made a gap to David and the Elise, and then started backing off. But when you back off, you start driving differently and you start making mistakes. And then the next thing I look in the mirror and he's starting to catch me back up. So just got back on it, cut a few hot laps in. But again, it depends on where you catch the traffic. I mean, if you're dicing with somebody right behind you and you catch them at the wrong point, it could be game over. So it's your luck where you catch them, really.
Happy with the car as well?
Aye, everything's fine. I mean, you really need a team that knows the car to set the thing up. I mean, I'm just doing it myself, and I make changes to it. And the main difference is the rear tyres. I put new tyres on it, and that makes a massive difference. But there's so much adjustments on it. You need a team to set it up, no me.
You did very well all the same. Congratulations.
All right, thank you.